Hi, my name is Jackie Berry, and I'm going to talk to you about the history of Bloody Sunday. So before Bloody Sunday actually happened, there was a huge influx of Catholic migrants into the city of Derry in the 18th century. So this was a huge issue because this area was already highly Protestant, and Protestants and Catholics don't really get along. So this led to overcrowding because of the number of people who came in. There was gerrymandering, and there was discrimination against Catholics. So it also resulted in Catholic people having the majority in voting. There were more Catholic people than Protestants, but they had no one to vote for. There was nobody for them who would represent them. So in 1920, the Government of Ireland Act was passed. So this left the city of Derry completely under British rule. So this was a big issue because it left everybody in Derry feeling like they had been abandoned by their government and that they had nobody there to represent them and to protect them and their rights. So in 1950, 1960, there were civil rights movements all over the world, and Derry was no exception. So the conditions that people were living in led them to demand housing for everybody, jobs for everybody, and equal voting rights. So in January of 1969, the slogan that actually became the slogan of this entire movement, "You are now entering free Derry," was written on a wall in Derry and can actually still be seen today. There was also a radio station that was erected for them and was super, super popular. Well, in April, a man by the name of Sammy Devaney was killed in his home after some rioters ran through his house. So he was not armed. He was completely innocent. He was killed in his doorway. And this violence sparked a huge uprising in the community because it meant that they were no longer protected by people who were supposed to be there to keep them safe. So Bloody Sunday itself happened on January 30th, 1972. It was supposed to be a peaceful march. There were 15,000 people who had gathered there. British soldiers had set up a barricade on a bunch of the roads to try and deter the protest, but it didn't work. Protesters decided to push through the boundaries, and soon British troops opened fire on one of the roads on William Street into an unarmed crowd, and they killed 14 people. And after the tragedy, they claimed that these people who they had killed were also firing at them and were carrying bombs. And once these details were released to the public, the protests erupted because it was a lie. So they were no longer protected, and it became known as Bloody Sunday.
U2 charted a success on both the artistic and business sides of the music industry. U2 had the incentive of combining the original sound with honest lyrics and challenging social messages as they earned the respect of peers, critics, and fans around the world. U2 was introduced in fall of 1976 when Larry Mullen Jr. was 14 years old. He posted a flyer in the bulletin board at his high school in search for musicians to create the new band. The band consists of Mullen on drums, Adam Clayton on bass, Paul Hewson on vocals, and Dave Evans on guitar. Paul Hewson is known as Bono Vox, and Dave Evans is known as The Edge, which were their nicknames that were given by the band. After winning a contest in Limerick, Ireland in March 1978, the band convinced a Dublin businessman named Paul McGuinness to manage them. With their management, they had the privilege to play as many shows as possible around Dublin to build their local fan base. As they became more successful in their work, in 1979 they released their first single, U2, 3, which topped the national charts. In December they took the risk and performed outside of Ireland, but struggled to gain fans and critics. However, in March 1980, Island Records signed U2 to its first international contract. The first album released was Boy, which was created from the agreement. U2's first tour outside the UK created new fan bases in parts of Europe and the United States, where strong club shows influenced the success of Boy in US album charts. All of the fan members were admitted Christian, except Adam Clayton. The rest of the three attended regular prayer group meetings and joined a religious group in Dublin called Shaman. That led the trio to question the relationship between the Christian faith and the rock and roll lifestyle. However, the band concluded that they would continue to produce music pieces without expressing personal beliefs.
Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2 is about the band's stance against violence, not just in Ireland, but everywhere. In the first verse, the band wants to make it go away. This is referring to the violence. To the band, the tragedy that is being placed in more than just the loss of life. It is about the atrocities that come from humans being so violent toward each other. They believe that by becoming one, they can live in peace. However, they are unable to do anything to stop it. The second verse talks about the aftermath. The lyrics say that many were lost, but they ask who has won. Northern Ireland experienced death, political difference, imprisonment, and fear. This all took a toll on their everyday lives. Although the tragedy ended, the pain will always remain, or as their lyrics say, the trench is dug within our hearts. The third verse expresses how the band felt about the violence. It didn't impact them as much as you would expect, though. It was something they were used to watching on TV. An important message in this verse is how TV desensitizes violence. It doesn't have an impact on us because we are not experiencing it ourselves, so we are less likely to act on it. Hence, we are immune. Because it is on TV, we forget that violence is real. Perhaps this is a battle that we face every day. Perhaps this is a message that they were trying to convey with the third verse.
There were a lot of tension between both parties at the time. Because of this, the lyrics of the song had to be changed from the original to ensure the safety of the band and their family. They also changed it to make sure that the song promoted a message of tolerance on both sides, and that they didn't take a stance on either side. All these actions were taken before the release of the full song to the public. In terms of popularity to the public, the song charted number 3 on the national charts in the Netherlands. Along with that, the song was also a part of the top 20 political songs listed, the top 20 political songs list by the New Statements. In general, critical reception was overall positive. The public did enjoy the song, however, some people did take the song the wrong way and thought of the song as a song of rebellion. Though, as stated before, the band did try to take measures to stop those feelings. But people still took the song as a song of rebellion and used it for a push of a revolution. To combat this, the band clarifies the intention of the song before it is performed live. And they also wave white flags in the background as the song is performed to symbolize peace.
Going more onto the omitted lyrics, Bono actually came out and made a statement that there were lines in the lyrics that could have resulted in a lot of trouble for the group, and they were omitted because I cannot come to terms with the man of violence. And really what they were afraid of is ruining their concert experience too, because they felt that if they were going to be able to play this song live, they didn't want the public to commit any acts of violence during that time. The group members did their best to have the lyrics capture a message that they agreed on, but in the end, they still held back from what their full message was just because of the fear of attack. And even though the final lyrics were censored, the band waited several years to perform the song live just because they wanted to make sure that it was received well before they attempted a live performance. And it still manages to be a classic protest song, as described by many people, even though the protest is one for a protest for peace, not a protest that would result in any violence.
The song The Town I Loved So Well by Phil Coulter is meant to tribute the memory of Derry, Ireland. Coulter grew up in Derry and wanted everyone to know what his home was like before the bloody attack. He says, "Of all the songs I've recorded, this is the one I would like to be remembered for. The anthem of the Loyalists is played in memory or celebration of those who lost their lives on this day. The Island is a comparison made by Paul Brady between the events happening in Lebanon and Northern Ireland. The sole purpose of it is to enforce love and not war.